Hey everyone, welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be looking at AI in Africa. Things are really heating up over there. And we've got some seriously cool stuff to talk about today, all based on an awesome report from Convergence AI. You know those folks. They're all about how to use AI to boost growth and make real change across the entire continent. And get this, we're talking AI fighting rhino poachers, revolutionizing healthcare, and even making governments work better. You ready to jump in?
Absolutely. I think one of the most remarkable things is that we're seeing Africa really forging its own path with AI, not just sort of taking ideas from other parts of the world, but figuring out how AI can work best for their unique communities and the challenges they're facing.
That's what I love. It's not one size fits all. They're really taking ownership of this technology. So let's talk policy for a second. I know that can sound kind of boring, but this is where the rubber meets the road. And I was actually surprised to learn that in 2024, fewer countries launched brand new AI strategies compared to 2023.
Right. And it's not that interest in AI is fading at all. It's actually the opposite. It's more that countries are shifting gears from just announcing plans to actually putting those plans into action. So, for example, you've got South Africa updating their laws around data privacy, which is absolutely crucial for AI to work responsibly.
Hmm.
And then you've got Ethiopia building what they call regulatory sandboxes. It's fascinating.
Just hold up. Regulatory sandboxes.
Mhm.
What in the
Uh,
world are those?
Oh, yeah. So think of it like a playground for AI innovators. It lets companies experiment with their AI tech in a controlled environment. They can try things out, see how it works in real-world scenarios, and make adjustments based on feedback from regulators and the community, which is so important because this helps ensure that when these AI solutions are ready for prime time, when they're rolled out on a larger scale, they're safe, they're effective, and they meet all those ethical standards.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. It's like a test drive for AI. So instead of just talking about AI, countries are setting the stage for it to actually work,
Exactly.
which is pretty exciting.
It really is. This shift from strategy to action is key because it means AI is moving beyond just the hype and into real-world applications that can actually have a tangible impact on people's lives.
I love that. Tangible impact. That's what we want to see. And it's not just individual countries doing their own thing right. There's a ton of collaboration happening too. The UN is involved, the African Union, it's like everyone is realizing they can't tackle this alone.
Absolutely. The United Nations is deeply invested in what they call responsible AI development, and they're working directly with African nations to make sure that AI is used ethically and respects human rights, which is just paramount. They even launched an AI readiness assessment program in Ghana to help countries figure out where they stand in terms of the AI capabilities and identify any potential risks they need to address.
So it's like a checkup for their AI game plan, making sure they're not jumping in without thinking about the consequences.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And then on a regional level, you've got the African Union, the AU. They're really stepping up to the plate as well. They're creating guidelines for AI use in healthcare, which, as you can imagine,
Yeah.
is a very sensitive area. So it's all about finding that balance between innovation and responsibility.
Right. You don't want to stifle progress, but you also don't want to rush into things without considering the ethical implications. So we've got countries taking action, international organizations providing guidance. It feels like there's a lot of momentum building here.
Oh, there definitely is. And what's really fascinating is how this is trickling down to the local level,
Yeah.
impacting communities in very tangible ways. Take Google's partnership with schools in Kenya, for example. They're developing specialized AI curriculums to equip young people with the skills they'll need to thrive in an AI-driven future.
Wait, AI in schools? So instead of just learning about AI, kids are actually learning how to create AI. That's pretty forward thinking.
Exactly. It's about empowering the next generation to not just be consumers of AI technology, but to become creators and innovators in this space.
It's amazing to see how AI is being woven into the fabric of education. Like they're preparing these students to really shape the future of AI in Africa. But it's not just about the future generation, right? There's a whole wave of innovation happening right now across different sectors. What really caught my eye in this report were the applications in healthcare and conservation. Talk about real-world impact.
Absolutely. Let's start with healthcare. Google is partnering with Jacaranda Health in Kenya to pilot these AI-assisted ultrasound machines. And these machines use some pretty sophisticated algorithms to analyze ultrasound images and can help detect potential complications during pregnancy, even in areas with limited access to trained sonographers.
So instead of having to travel miles to see a specialist, women in these more remote villages could have access to this potentially life-saving technology
Right.
right there in their communities.
That's exactly the idea. It's about bringing healthcare to those who need it most, regardless of where they live. And this is just one example. AI is also being used to develop personalized treatment plans for patients with chronic diseases, to predict outbreaks of infectious diseases, and even to assist with surgeries.
Wow. It sounds like AI is poised to completely revolutionize healthcare in Africa.
Hmm.
But I'm also really curious about those conservation efforts you mentioned. The report talked about using AI to protect rhinos, which sounds incredible.
It is. The U.S. State Department and the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, they're using AI-powered thermal cameras to combat rhino poaching in Kenya. And these cameras can detect poachers in the dark, giving rangers a critical advantage in protecting these endangered
Oh,
animals.
that's amazing. It's like giving the rangers a superpower. But AI's role in conservation goes even beyond that, right? I was reading about how it's being used to monitor marine life and even track illegal fishing activity.
You're absolutely right. AI is being deployed in all sorts of innovative ways to protect our planet. For instance, in Mozambique, researchers are using AI to analyze satellite imagery and identify biodiversity hotspots in the ocean, which helps conservationists focus their efforts on protecting the most critical areas.
It's mind-blowing to think that AI can help us understand and protect our oceans from thousands of miles away. But with all this incredible progress happening, I have to ask, what's next for AI in Africa? What should we be watching for in 2025 and beyond?
That's a great question. Well, 2024 really laid the groundwork, and now 2025 is all about scaling up these efforts and translating them into even greater impact. For example, Egypt is set to release a revamped national AI strategy this year, and their focus is using AI to tackle these big social challenges, from improving education to supporting entrepreneurship.
So they're really leaning into AI as a tool for positive change?
Absolutely. And they're not alone. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, recently launched an AI Readiness Index, which is basically a roadmap for African countries to assess their AI capabilities and identify areas where they need to invest. This will help ensure that the benefits of AI are shared widely and that no one gets left behind.
That's really encouraging. But I also imagine that with all this talk about AI, there might be some concerns about job displacement. Are people worried that robots are going to take over?
It's a valid concern, and it's something that policymakers and industry leaders are very aware of. But the focus is shifting from replacing jobs to reskilling the workforce. There's a huge push to equip people with the skills they need to work alongside AI, to complement and enhance their capabilities.
So instead of fearing AI, the goal is to empower people to leverage it.
Exactly. We're seeing this surge in AI training programs across Africa, targeting everyone from students to journalists to government officials. Microsoft East Africa, for example, has a program to train over 100,000 Kenyan workers in AI-related skills.
That's impressive. It seems like the private sector is stepping up to play a role in this transformation as well.
They definitely are. They recognize that a skilled workforce is essential for AI to reach its full potential. And it's not just about training people for tech jobs. It's about equipping people in all sectors with the skills to collaborate with AI and harness its power for good.
It's about creating a future where humans and AI work together to solve problems and create opportunities. But for this to truly work, everyone needs to be included, right? What about the folks who don't have access to technology or digital literacy skills?
That's a crucial point. We can't talk about the future of AI in Africa without addressing the digital divide. Fortunately, many of the initiatives we're seeing are focused on bridging that gap. For instance, Nokia and UNICEF are partnering in Senegal to enhance digital education in schools, giving teachers and students access to the tools and skills they need to thrive in a digital world.
That's fantastic. It's about leveling the playing field and making sure that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from this technological revolution.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the core of what we've been discussing, this commitment to ethical and inclusive AI development.
From the African Union's focus on human rights to the UN's emphasis on sustainable development, it's clear that Africa is taking a very deliberate and thoughtful approach to AI.
It's not just about adopting the latest technology, it's about adapting it to meet their specific needs and values.
So what does this all mean for our listener, who might be listening to this deep dive and wondering, okay, that's all very interesting, but how does this actually affect me?
It's a great question. See, this isn't just a story about technology, it's a story about people. It's about how AI is being used to address some of the most pressing challenges facing the continent
Yeah.
and create a brighter future for generations to come.
And while some might see AI as a threat, the reality is that it has the potential to be an incredible force for good, empowering individuals, communities, and entire nations.
That's the key takeaway here. It's about harnessing the power of AI for good, for progress, and for a future where everyone can thrive.
Absolutely. And that brings us to something we want you to think about. As we wrap up this deep dive into AI in Africa, with all this innovation happening, what role do you see AI playing in your life in the next few years?
Will it be something that empowers you,
Hmm.
connects you, or maybe even challenges you in unexpected ways? The possibilities are vast.
It's a question worth pondering, because the future of AI in Africa is being written right now, and you're a part of that story.
Thanks for joining us on this journey exploring the exciting world of AI in Africa.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, stay curious. It's inspiring to see how Africa is really leading the way in showing that AI isn't just about fancy algorithms or robots, but about real people using this technology to solve real problems.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that technology is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to make sure that AI is used to create a more equitable, sustainable, and just world.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that brings us to something that we want you to think about. As we wrap up this deep dive into AI in Africa, with all this innovation happening, what role do you see AI playing in your life in the next few years?
Hmm. Will it be something that empowers you, connects you, or maybe even challenges you in ways you never expected?
That's a big
The
question.
possibilities are huge.
Yeah, it's a question worth pondering. Because the future of AI in Africa is being written right now. And
Yes.
you're a part of that story.
So true. Thanks for joining us on this journey exploring the exciting world of AI in Africa.
Absolutely. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, stay curious.